Alright, hi YouTube. We are recording live on stream right now. We just watched the Season 10 Campfire chat, and as always, I have prepared a bunch of notes here, and I'm gonna give you my thoughts and my overview of what we have just seen. We also have the full patch notes that I just went through. There's a lot of stuff that actually changed from the PTR, plus a lot of stuff that I imagine a lot of people have not even seen at all. So I'll try to kind of like make it a balance between giving you like the full rundown without really overloading this video too much. So keep in mind we're still on stream, this is like an impromptu recording, but let's jump in. So first of all, TLDR, what is going to happen in Season 10? Well, it is the Chaos season. So this is the season of Infernal Chaos. There's a lot of stuff here, so we can kind of just break this down with this overview here. So Chaos Armors is the biggest power creep feature of the season. So you're gonna have basically the entire left side of the inventory, new uniques that can roll in slots not previously possible. So for example, you can now get a Banished Lord's Talisman instead of an amulet. You can get a chest armor or a glove or something like that. So this is what it looks like here, for example. So Hooves of the Mountain God is now a helm, and so on. So there's like a list for all classes and class specific as well, certain uniques, and you cannot double up on a unique. And these items are very similar to other ancestrals. They have GAs. They also have a maxed out unique power, and this one is 20% larger than normal, and it keeps all of the stats of the unique item as well. So you can do some crazy stuff. For example, Flicker Step on the Sorc plus a normal pair of boots. You can get 4 seconds off your weight cooldown on every build, basically teleport everywhere from the start. Or you can just get like, insane chest armor or helm before you have a shroud or a shako or a perdition helm, for example, and still get a lot of power pretty early from that. Plus some new combos that are previously not possible. So in addition to that, we also have the Chaos perks. So there is like a second power feature, which you can also see, for example, in our Maxwell planner here. So we have this here. You slot in a bunch of powers. This is pretty old school stuff, I guess, similar to vampire powers or something. But those are also pretty impactful in some cases. So you have access to 16 per class. There's 4 class specific ones, 12 generic ones. And you can have one of the uniques and then 3 of any of the others. And some of them are pretty impactful here, for example, like this here, or something like this on a Necro. This is like a class specific one. So in general, we're gonna see a lot of new builds, and it's actually gonna be very tough to say what is really going to be the strongest right now. It's gonna be a bunch of like a time of discovery, basically, starting with Season 10, because we did have the PDR, but a lot of stuff has changed, and I think we still have not really explored all the options. So it's gonna be kind of wild, and a lot of stuff will be really powerful. You can play all kinds of meme builds, and some stuff is going to be really cracked and go like 120, 130 plus pits or so. Maybe you're going to see 150 with non-bugged builds this time around. So we'll see. So yeah, this is kind of like the TLDR. On top of that, there is obviously also new content. So they have like a seasonal Chaos Rift content type that is like in Hell Tides and Nightmare Dungeons. So it kind of like spits out monsters. There's new monsters and so on. Infernal Hordes got a big rework, so that is now generally more balanced and there's a lot more action. And this is also where you get most of these Chaos Armors, for example, and a bunch of other stuff here. So there's also like pets and so on. I can show that real quick. This is from the Season Journey, like this little foxy. Here's some wings. I think this is on the paid battle pass, but look pretty badass as well. So there's that. And yeah, this is kind of like the overall overview here. Now let's jump into some of my notes. So I have this here, so I collected a lot of it from the patch notes. So I'll try to kind of go through this. In general, what's kind of cool is bosses can now be blasted instantly. So no longer like waiting for Duriel to borrow down and Andariel with the totems and stuff like that. If you have the damage, you can kill them instantly for roughly double their total HP. They will get like a barrier, a bit like in the last Epoch. You can kind of target farm chaos items from obos, but realistically I don't expect that to be a very good source. So there will be pretty random drops, mostly outside of lair bosses. I think they specifically wanted to not make lair bosses the best way to get them, and they are account bound, so you have to get them yourself. So mostly Infernal Hordes, Chaos Rifts, and this kind of stuff, I think. Also, lair boss infinite tribute sustain with the Titan tributes is no longer a thing. They made a power from Sorcs called Mana Shield, where you get like 20,000 mana or something like that. So they kept every resource scaling aspect as a result, including Hydra, for example. But that is still gonna be good. And they also like nerfed like resource generation in general across various sources. For example, the lucky hit restore resource is nerfed, and the ultimate restore resource on rings temper is nerfed. So generally, Quax Rune is gonna be out for a lot of builds, which is a good thing, I think. Okay, Infernal Hordes updates. So number one, it can be run pre-Torment. So I think leveling Infernal Hordes could be really good. You can get these called Fleeting Horse keys now or something like that. So this will be from, I think, Helltide Chaos Rifts. And you can probably go there and get a lot of XP. Generally, Hordes is a lot more XP than other content. If I had to guess, it's probably like 2 to 3 times as good as, you know, other stuff that it can do. Just from like what I remember from like the XP numbers and like, you know, comparing different content types outside of the pit, but pit is not accessible while leveling. So I think that's gonna be pretty nice, and it's gonna like make leveling a lot more interesting. They tuned all the offerings, including Soul Spires, might be good, we'll see. But TLDR, there are these new Chaos Waves, and they are really juiced and sometimes even crazier, so there's all kinds of random stuff there. And you want to take those whenever you see them. And otherwise, you just try to like build like a combo of, you know, either the Soulspire stuff or the Master stuff or the Hellborn stuff and so on. So it's going to be a bit more like averaged out. And if you reach 666 either, apparently, then you can fight Bartok, which is like a new, kind of like a lair boss kind of deal. So he's like mid-range lair boss kind of difficulty, I would say. That also drops a lot of these chaos items. So this is where you get most of them. Okay, for the list of chaos items, I can show this real quick here, but they added a few since the PTR. So you have the generic loot table here that looks like this, and some new stuff. Here we get Ramanatni's Magnum Opus for Barb, which is insane. I think basically every build wants that, or most of them will want this. This is a really big multiplier, and we don't know exactly how this will work. I just expect that it will just buff all of your damage, basically, because usually you have to use that weapon to attack, but now it's not a weapon anymore, so I guess it's just active, basically. Dolmen Stone was added for Druids. That is going to be pretty good, but only one build. Mutilator Plate, I'm not really so sure. Scoundrel's Kiss on Rogue, kind of whatever, I feel. Azus Heirloom, kind of same story, but we'll see. Sunbird's Gorget could be interesting for the Spiritborn. That was added, and they deleted none. So one thing on the PTR was, it was kind of tough to get the chaos items that you wanted in the right slot, potentially with the right GA or like an important GA as well. And that was kind of like a common complaint, that we had like no real way of targeting the right one, and you potentially needed like hundreds of these in order to get the right combination of all the stuff that you're looking for your best in slot setup. And it seems like that just got worse now. So this is what they want. Farming the exact best in slot setup is going to be tough. So it's going to be easy to get these, some of them, and to kind of like get something going, but it's going to be very hard to get the right stuff. So I can tell you that. And there's no way to trade them. There's no way to really target them. So you're just going to deal with it, basically. This also means that when you are following guides in Season 10, it's going to be kind of a bit up to you as well, because, you know, you have to deal with what you got, and you will have to do that for a long time. So you potentially have to like swap slots around. Maybe, you know, when the guide says this goes in the helm, this goes into the glove, maybe you have the reverse, so you can swap those around, or maybe you have to put something else there. On the other hand, it's also gonna help a lot with kind of like bridging the power gap between, for example, having mythics and not having mythics, because you can just gonna put something on your helm instead of nothing until you get a Perdition helm, and the same with the Shroud, for example. So that's gonna be kind of cool. Now let's talk about the Chaos perks a little bit. So there were some changes here. Overall, yeah, we got some pretty big buffs here. I mean, okay, there was a bug here with Overabundance on Druid that just kind of stacked infinitely, but this is still insanely strong. This was like a thing where maybe you have seen some clips on PTR, people doing like 150s on Druid and stuff. That was effectively an infinite stacking bug that is now gone. But yeah, overall, Druid has insane perks, basically. Crazy Brew is a power where you can chuck potions and get an insane attack speed buff and a resource reduction buff. So that's going to be good for especially Spiritborn with Capital builds. And overall, like everyone who wants attack speed, basically, that now works with cooldown reduction. So that's kind of nice. Necros, You could do some funny meme reap build with your skellies. They have like a power where your skellies use reap. I don't expect that to be very good, but it's gonna be probably very fun, so I might try that. But Necro have like one of the coolest perks of the your ultimate powers, your ultimate skills become core skills. So I'm looking forward to that. I think Necro is probably gonna see the largest variety of new options here. For example, a Soul Rift spam build and a Bone Storm build where like Bone Storms are all over the place and stuff like that. That's gonna be kind of cool. So we'll see. Rogues also got some pretty big buffs across the board with some of their changes. So not only was their Paragon buffed a lot, and every rogue build has like double damage or so, but they also got 150% core damage on top. So overall core skill rogue builds are going to be really strong, I think, and then followed by probably the rest. But we'll see where exactly they will land. And Sorcs also got some pretty crazy stuff here. So they're gonna run Mana Shield. Mana Shield is like an effect where you have like basically a really large mana pool that is now your health, but you have no health anymore. And this is gonna fuel your skills, and they're gonna cost a lot, but you're gonna regenerate an insane amount so that you can actually just spam everything, and you're gonna be basically invincible. So I think Sorc's gonna be kind of cracked with this all around. And then we have Spiritborn as well that got some upgrades here, and Spiritborn also looking very powerful. We're gonna have a lot of builds based around evading and then doing like a core skill, and that core skill will just like evaporate the entire screen. So core skill builds on Spiritborn are gonna be strong. We have like Touch of Death, I expect to be the strongest build in the game actually. So that's gonna be kind of insane. And you got some other buffs as well, so we'll see. Yeah, some other updates. I mentioned resource management is going to be a bit harder because of those two changes mostly. So this was previously like, basically giving you all the resources back. Now it's kind of little, and only like really high lucky hit builds will really be able to use this. Something like Quill Volley or so maybe, or Rogues with Barrage or something like that. They might still really benefit from this stuff, but I don't think we're gonna just slap this and a Quack's Rune on like any build, and we're not gonna be just fine. So you have to work for your resources a little bit more. Yeah, other class updates, Barbs, so Walking Arsenals, Stonks. There's also a new unique here with weapon swapping that really helps with that. So I'm kind of excited for this. I might try to revive something like Kratos Barb again, or some other like multi-skill Barb build. We'll see. That's gonna be fun. Upheaval in general, a bunch of like core buffs here on the Barb. I think there's gonna be a lot of like pretty viable stuff on the Barb, and they're looking relatively good. I think it's not just gonna be like Lunging Strike or Bust basically. Druids are overall extremely strong. They have like a handful of really powerful builds. So first of all, there's a new build, the Ravens. So this is like kind of like a spammable core skill, and it does like some kind of like AoE attack on the ground. That was really good on the PTR, and it got even better. And yeah, then we have Flesh Render, same old stuff. Pulve, insane this season, even more than it was already. Boulder is gonna be Stonks, maybe Wolves. So overall, Druids probably strongest or second strongest overall class, I would say. They're looking insane. So yeah, also a bunch of other updates here, Tornadoes, Nature's Fury stuff. I don't really expect too much of this right now, but we'll see. We'll have to test this and see where this will land. And then we have the Necros. So I'm not sure exactly what it will do. I have not been able to test those too much, but TLDR, you have a bunch of these new builds with like ultimates now being core skills. So I expect that to be pretty good. Like Soul Rift is apparently a candidate. Bone Storm maybe. There's a bunch of buffs for like Bloodlands, Blood Surge, and so on. And Necros are already really strong across the board with pretty powerful builds. Not very fast, but very strong usually. So Minions is there. And yeah, I also expect stuff like Bone Spear, for example, to be pretty good. So we'll see. Rogues, yeah, got a lot of buffs in this patch here. They got a new unique that I'm not really sure we'll see too much, because it's basically just for combo point builds, or they try to make some sort of like dual core skills viable. We'll see if that will actually come to reality. But yeah, overall, I'm not really too convinced right now, but you can at least play combo points a bit better than in the past if you like that. And also, yeah, all the core skills are like really buffed. Overall looking like pretty balanced across the board. And yeah, maybe even also on the strong side now that they got a lot of number adjustments. Yeah, like all the Paragon nodes went up a lot. A bunch of like unique buffs and so on. Yeah, for the Sorcs, it's kind of looking similar to the Rogues. Like all the core skills look really strong, also thanks to some of their powers. So they have like a power where their The core skills deal more damage the more ranks you have in them, so you want to try to stack skill ranks as much as you can. There were also a bunch of updates with like lightning skills, in particular Crackle and Charge Bolts. I'm not really that convinced of it yet, but we'll see. And Hydra was nerfed, but together with like the other changes and the mana shield and all that kind of stuff, I expect it to be still pretty insane. Plus the perma TP I mentioned at the start, that you can just get almost for free basically at this point. Like Sorcs are going to be flying through the game like from very early on basically. It's going to be insane. And yeah, Spiritborn, they're getting a lot of updates with gorilla skills. So this is like this new unique item here, the Hesha Ekazungi, giving you insane amount of skill ranks. This is crazy for any kind of Prodigy tempo build, for example. The gorilla ult is now very good, especially in like high pits and stuff like that. It's going to give you lots of damage and damage reduction and barrier, and you're just going to be chilling with that. It's very fun to play as well. It pulls everything in. That is really cool. So Spiritborn finally got like a real like evolution of the class, I would say, that we have been waiting for, and that is going to be nice. And most of the double dipping is gone, so that is also good. So that means Balazan builds will go down. We're probably going to delete like 3 of those variants, and they're going to keep only Rake the way it looks. And that's going to be still an okay build. But yeah, overall, I think it's going to be an insane class. Touch of Death, yeah, in the trillions, dozens of trillions of damage. And it's mostly because you can combine all the quarterstaffs, and the quarterstaffs are really big on the Spiritborn. If you look at this list of which chaos items they have, there is Sebasontek, there's Kepeleke, you can run those together, and then you also have Vushnak Pa, you have the Sunstained War, Crozier. So there is so much stuff here that is just insane for Spiritborn, and this is also like just creating insane builds, like evade plus core skill builds, and like these touch of death builds, payback builds, everything is gonna be crazy here. So yeah, this is kind of like the rundown on most of the changes that we have here. There's obviously more stuff to chew on, and it's just kind of like my first impressions, I guess. But this is what I want to get out here for now. I'm obviously going to have more uploads in the next days when I'm cooking builds and all that, so stay tuned for this. And of course, our Maxwell guys are working on the guide updates as we speak. We're going to have a tier list and all the builds and so on probably this weekend, so stay tuned for that. Luckily, we have a bit more time this time around, but also we have a lot more work this time around. Because there is just so much stuff here with the chaos items that, yeah, it's going to be interesting. And yeah, one thing that I teased for Season 11 is masterworking and tempering and system changes are coming. So that sounds like something very promising. And apparently they also did mention that Season 10 might last a little bit longer. So I expect maybe in January or so we're going to see Season 11 with some actual bigger game updates. But they have not really given any details on that yet. So we have to wait. And this is it for now. So yeah. Did I miss anything, chat? Otherwise... we got a raid as well, thanks goodness. Yeah, this was my brief summary here for the patch notes. As I mentioned, there's more coming, so stay tuned, like, subscribe, and so on. And I'll see you guys next time.